Welcome, folks. That was a jibe at my good friend, MT Omni, Editor-in-Chief of Common Sense Network. I'm Michael Porfu, political editor here at the Common Sense Network. This is week, whatever, I've lost count of how many of these fantastic episodes we've been putting together, moving parts on the US election. Before we delve into it, because this week is what we like to call a juicy one, the material actually writes itself. Remember, please, we encourage you, subscribe, and then hit that little bell there, get notifications, share it. We want to hear your thoughts. Talk to us and let us know. Sign up as well on our platform and be a member, be part of our network, absolutely free. Get exciting stuff in your inbox. We get exciting insight. Got a great team of writers and events that we put together. So, MT Omni, good morning to you, my brother. It has been an interesting, juicy week in the world of the United States election.
Right. When you say juicy, I get a worry there. Because juicy sounds like good and, something really nice and nutritional, but that has nutritional value.
It's nice and scandalous, let's put it that way. It's scandalous. Yeah. And we're newsheads, we're political junkies, and we thrive off this kind of, this drama, this intrigue. We've got our own drama here in the United Kingdom, of course, going on, but that's another story for another day. Look at our website. We've got some articles on everything taking place here at home. But to the US elections, this last week, President Trump has pretty much been center stage. But one might argue, depending on where you sit on the side of the spectrum, one might argue for the wrong reasons. It's not been a good media week, let's put it that way. Do you care to expand on that, sir?
Well, there was a well-known saying that the grass is greener on the other side. I guess if we think about it politically, we should say that there's more burning happening on the other side. So if we just look at America for a bit and take our minds off a potential non-UK US bilateral trade deal, which Nancy Pelosi threatened us about a few hours ago.
Oh, I will go into that. Nancy.
I'm saying, let's take our mind off what's happening with, there's a new lockdown being imposed on Brits. Let's just take our mind away from that and focus on the US for a little while. Just a few, I guess, a day ago now, a new book by Bob Woodward, who folks may not remember him, but he broke the Watergate scandal as a young journalist. He was one of the people with I think something Stein. I forgot the name of the other journalist. They broke the Watergate scandal. So a very well-respected journalist. He released a new book where he spoke to Donald Trump 18 times between December 2019 and July 2020. And in this book, it emerged that the US President Donald Trump actually knew about COVID-19 way earlier than let us know, and he knew how deadly it was, but he still played it down. So to give you a sense of the timeline, on January the 28th, the National Security Advisor told Trump that there was a problem happening with Corona in China, and in fact that it would become the biggest national security threat Trump would face in his presidency. Now, 10 days later, Trump then spoke in one of these 18 calls with Bob Woodward. Important to know, all these calls were on the record, so this isn't a leak. This is all on record. Trump spoke to Woodward, saying that it was a deadly virus, that it could be 5 times deadly than the flu. That he was concerned. He even said it was airborne. However, a few days later, Trump's in public, and he's still comparing it to the flu. In fact, he's holding mass rallies. He's not wearing a mask. He's telling people it's not that serious. He kept on parroting this line that a miracle would come and it would take the flu away. Now we are in September. Over 180,000 Americans have died. And people are saying, did the US president lie to us?
Good question. In fact, he held a press conference recently. If you're watching this, the press conference was a few hours ago, late British time, late American time, early British time. And in that press conference, he comes out very strongly, talking about the jobs record, talking about the super economic V that America's experiencing, talking about the fact that their numbers have not looked better than they do now, talking about the low unemployment rate. And then, of course, journalists don't care about that because that's basically the script that he's been parroting throughout the whole campaign. They get to this point of asking, why did you lie to the US people? And Mr. Amiri, what is his reasoning on that?
Well, it was an ABC journalist that lied. And firstly, he shook his head in disgust. He said, what a terribly phrased question. He then does what's now become a Trumpism, which is media bashing. The media is fake. They're trying to get me. And he said he wasn't lying. He wanted to project strength. He said it's important for the country to not panic. Sorry, he said he didn't want the country he wanted the country to not panic. You look at America right now. What words would you use to describe America other than the word panic? Right? Talk about this desire to portray strength. I think in truth, he was probably worried about the stock market. He was worried about the economics of the whole thing. And you know, a Columbia study has revealed that had he acted just 1 week earlier, or 2 weeks earlier, then about 30,000 people may not have died from COVID. So I'm not sure this confidence he was trying to portray, at least that's what he said he was trying to do. It doesn't seem as though it's really translated into actual, anything materially different for people who live in America. No, one of the things, though, that commentators are going back and forth about is, does any of this matter? Of course, this is not the first time we've seen a Trump leak or we've seen a tape. What do you make of that, Mike? Do you think
Yeah, I think, you're so right. It's not the first time. And he is quite, it seems it's part of just his life to be exposed in this particular way. Of course, the difference here is that it's not a leak. Like you say, this was on the record. It's like you and I right now. We're recording something. I'm well aware of what's taking place. You're well aware. And it's the same between him and Bob. But if you look at Trump's history, in the 2016 race, he had that infamous leak of him, conducting what he described as locker room talk, where he described about how he basically treats women horribly. And you recall that incident. And fair enough, he survived that. That was, I think, perhaps got something, hit him, didn't really injure him. This time it's a little bit different. There's been a series. If you look at it in the lead up to this election, I've got a bit of a timeline here, an intriguing one. The first one is earlier on, has to do with the fact that one of the so-called insiders, high-level officials who traveled with Donald Trump to France in 2018, accusing him of refusing to visit a U.S. World War II memorial cemetery.
Yeah.
Now, for Americans, that's a big deal because the army is everything. The army is outside of the flag. I don't know what else is more important to a lot of Trump's base. Let's put it that way. To a lot of constituents that he wants to appeal to, the army is everything. He's had a back and forth about the fact that this is a lie. I definitely wanted to go visit there, but they told me the weather was bad. He hides behind the weather. And there's been a ton of he said, she said. Whether he likes it or not, that has put a dent in his campaign. The next set of leaks, as it were, is a tape from his sister, who's a former judge, which I find so intriguing. Miss Barry essentially talks about the fact that this is it. Trump's niece was recording Trump's sister talking about how terrible Trump was as a president. He didn't understand the presidency. She accuses him of being a liar. She accuses him of being unprepared. She accuses him of ill-treating immigrant children, locking them up in the cages. And again, this tape leaks, and this was just before the RNC. Fast forward to the latest incident with Bob. I think there's just a trend of consecutive leaks on important issues. And this is the key thing. Not to say the 2016 thing wasn't important. This time it's starting to stack up. If you are a conservative Republican voter whom Trump is trying to appeal to, there are a few boxes that you would consider quite essential for your vote. Respect of the army, which Trump supposedly loves. Respect of basic the basic American principle of defending your home soil, which I think he has failed to do in this particular incident with the coronavirus case. Whether you like it or not, it is not a good look for the Republicans. So does this matter, to answer your initial question? I think it does. I think it hasn't been a good week for him. I think, quite honestly, Joe Biden just needs to go to bed.
Yeah, we said it
for a long time.
We're going to go back into that basement. Just go back to the basement.
Literally, go to the basement, play video games. Play video games, check your Twitter, now and again tweet about something vaguely important.
You know what Biden should tweet? He should tweet Law and Order.
He should. Because America needs it. You know, I don't care, one could argue, well, the playbook is being thrown out, it's not 2016, it's not politics as we know it. Whether we like it or not, Trump took a major hit this week, and I think the polls obviously reflect that, but more importantly, it would be harder to convince the undecideds.
Yeah, we can go through the polls in literally, as you know, we want to give you a weekly look at the polls here, and we can look at real clear politics, but also the Financial Times' breakdown. What I think we'll do, since you accuse me of loving one poster so much, every week we'll try different posters. That way we can go across the whole breadth of them. But one thing to me that's so interesting is it's very important to be very aware of the facts here. I think one thing that I think is part of Trump's playbook is to muddy the waters so much to undermine all these credible institutions we have, such that at the end of the day we would end up believing anything, as it were. The truth of the matter is, there was one senior staffer in the Trump campaign who said, "I don't believe anything Bob Woodward writes." Well, he didn't write this. This is literally on tape.
This is literally on tape.
And you can see them try and their normal tactics. What does Trump do when he's confronted with stuff like this? He just blames the people recording. So one thing I found quite astonishing was when he went onto Twitter and he was like, "Well, Bob knew about this for he had these recordings for months. Why didn't he tell the people? Why didn't he report it to the authorities?" And I was saying, you are the authorities. You're literally the president. I mean, imagine. Suppose Bob Woodward did go. And bear in mind, in his defense, Bob did say that his issue is he didn't even know if Trump was lying or telling the truth, right? But imagine if you are Bob, you just go off the phone to the president of the United States. What, do you then call the police and go, "I think like, who do you call?" And it's the issue of Trump. He doesn't understand he's the president. He still acts like a private citizen. He still runs the same defenses. I didn't know. On 7th of February, he said that the coronavirus goes through the air. That's what he told, right? A few days after, he was saying it's under control. It's going to magically disappear. There's going to be a miracle. It's going to go away. In fact, much later, he kept on saying in April, when it gets hot, the virus will go away.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like this is any other political actor. This would be the end of their political career. But somehow, Trump has this New Yorker BS thing that he thinks he can somehow just keep talking and he'll get through this. And you know what? I think he is going to get through this. I think he's going to BS his way out of this like he does everything else. And that's an indictment on the American system that we're even having a conversation about this. A president willfully leads people the wrong way. It leads to hundreds of thousands of deaths, but he expects us to thank him because it's not more. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Mike. Usually I don't agree with your analysis because it's sometimes a bit weird. But on this one...
you're from South Africa, so I know the system there is a bit different. I'm just saying.
What does that have to do with anything? That does not make sense.
It's a different system. So I know...
What does that mean? We're talking about Americans. Can I just say, let's move on, because that makes no sense. But I'll explain it to you after. You made a very good point about his ability to BS his way. Forgive the language, folks. There's just no other way. There's no academic way or nuanced way of saying this. He believes he can talk his way through anything. And here's the thing, to his credit, and whether you think it's fortunate or unfortunate, it has gotten him this far. He likes to say this phrase, well, we're in the White House, aren't we? And there's a huge, there's a reality of that we are in the White House. They did win the president, but you're right, it's an indictment on the American system. And the failure, really, I think, of the system to elect the best possible candidate. You know, Hillary wins 3 million more on popular vote, and she doesn't make the presidency. Key point, though, is he will get through it, but I don't know if it will be enough to salvage the presidency.
Do you mean polls, electoral college? What do you mean?
I apologize. Let me rephrase it. I don't know if this is not the thing that might turn a lot of people. So in other words, this could be the thing that Trump's staunch supporters turn on. I think even for them, whether you're a middle America Trump truck driving, sorry for being very stereotypical right now, person, I'm not sure if being lied to by the commander-in-chief, because quite frankly, where anyone else were to have done that, you are right. Barack Obama lying to the nation about a potential disease or an outbreak, let me tell you something. That would have been impeachment. They would have been called for his head. There would have been a statement from the White House, fellow Americans, I've decided to tender my resignation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Clearly, Trump wants to run this and continues to run this like one of his businesses. You know, we're brokering a deal, we're trying to figure out, we're negotiating, the rules are a bit fluid. Who cares about rules? What rules? So there's a sense in me anyway that I think this might have been a stretch too far for some people. It'll be intriguing to see how it unfolds in the coming weeks.
I mean, we could take a look at some of the polls. Based on the Financial Times reporting, if the election were held today, they forecast Joe Biden winning 279 electoral college votes and Donald Trump winning 122. Nationally, Biden still leads Trump. A metadata study of polls, that's a study of basically studies, has Biden on something like 50.7 and Trump on 42.6. So Trump is trailing. There's always going to be, there's going to be peaks and troughs every single day pretty much. But for the most part, it stayed stagnant around 50 to 40%. He's leading him there by 7-point-something points nationally. It is a good place to be at this stage. Of course, we want that gap to widen. And as you said earlier,
I didn't realize you were a Democrat.
No, I'm saying, well, I'm not a Trump supporter. That's very clear. I made it very clear that the minute Trump got elected, I would not be supporting Trump. But if we want that to widen, so to speak, if Biden wants that to widen, all he has to do is pretty much stay quiet at this stage, because the campaign
this stage in the game
imploding. Of course, another topic we could have spoken about was these reports that Trump has called veterans suckers and losers.
Yeah, losers.
We could have covered that. There's just so much to talk about. Now, what's quite interesting in all of this, and probably what we should pay some attention to, is Biden's response. So Biden didn't stay quiet. He actually sat down with Jake Tapper from CNN, and they had a discussion about it. And I don't know if you watched that interview, Mike, but I found it pretty powerful. Biden spoke about how this is not normal, this is unprecedented for a leader to act this way. But then he then went on to what I think was probably the best part of the interview, where he spoke about his son and people who serve in uniform, and how they're not suckers, that they understand duty.
They're not losers. Yeah,
they're not losers. And he mapped it and really nicely, talked about Donald Trump is basically absconded, his responsibility as leader, because he doesn't understand duty and he doesn't understand service. And then he said all these other veterans, they're the people who understand service and duty. And I guess if he can push that message, he may see things get better. Of course, the people who vote for Trump and who love him despite all these things coming out about him.
That's the challenge.
How many Trump voters go, oh, Trump knew? Oh, I'm not voting for him anymore. Come on. I mean, these are people who don't wear masks.
These are people, it's true, who show up to North Carolina, one of these recent rallies, and he seems to like going back there, who show up to North Carolina, no masks, in their thousands to greet him. So you are right, whether he turns it down or not. Just to come back to that Biden point, about him, referring again to his son and the fact that they're not, war veterans and people who die in battle. They're not suckers. I think, whether you like it or not, Americans hold the title of a veteran so high. Whether it's the Vietnam War, which also Trump said, I don't understand the war. Why go and be a loser there? But, whether it's Vietnam, allegedly true, because, it hasn't been confirmed because the source refuses to reveal themselves. But, whether it's Vietnam, whether it's Iraq, whether it's Afghanistan, they hold that quite close to their hearts, seen as a sign of patriotism. Even the Democrats, it's not a Republican thing. The army is a really well-respected institution. And I think this week he lost some credibility in that space. Intriguing to see who continues to endorse him, who continues to back him. Any former generals, any former army representatives, any veteran association people. One of the things Trump prides himself is the amount of resources thrown at the Veterans Association, more than any other president in the country's history, he says, except, I believe it must be, he said, except not George Washington, who was it? One of the founding fathers.
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln. I thought, wow, okay.
People always forget Lyndon B. Johnson as well on that list. They
so
forget
true.
He just goes Abraham Lincoln. I bet you Trump couldn't name 10 presidents. I wouldn't be shocked. If he's like George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Barack Obama, here you go. Come on, there's more in there somewhere. Anyways, we should probably move on to this other story, shouldn't we?
Yes, sir. Let's do that.
Because as though there isn't enough happening in America, as though the country doesn't just need to take just a chill pill for what's a calm term. Twitter exploded a few days ago as well, because whilst all of this is going on, Trump then is being nominated for
a Nobel Peace Prize.
I can't say it seriously. I just, you asked me before, am I a Democrat? Am I a Trump supporter? I think at this stage, I just want normalcy back. I just want to go back to us. I mean, we were talking about it the other day. It's so hard to be a political commentator right now because there's no nuance. There's nothing in. It's just all. I just can't believe some of the stuff I'm reading. So let's take a look at this story. Trump has been nominated for Nobel Peace Prize. A right-wing Norwegian politician, some folks describe him as far right-wing, put Trump's name forward for the 2021 Nobel Prize, citing the president's role in the recent peace deal with Israel and the UAE. His name, I'm going to struggle to pronounce. I did write it down, and I tried before. Christian Taibing Jadi, right?
Wow.
Try it again. Let's call him Christian. Yeah, he told Fox News that Trump should be considered for his merit, that he's done more than anybody trying to create peace between nations, and therefore deserves the Peace Prize. Now, important to be aware, because I know some folks were like, what? He's getting the prize. He's not getting it. He's been nominated. And folks should remember that the barrier for nominations is actually very, very low. Any head of state, any politician serving at a national level can nominate somebody, right? And so, has Trump been nominated before? Yes. In 2018. Now, guess who by? The same.
Oh, you want me to guess?
No. Yeah, so the same person. Now, is this man being paid? I don't know what's going on here, but why is he so desperate for Donald Trump to get a Nobel Peace Prize?
I can't help but chuckle at this story. It's one of those nice light moments, if you will, in the current political climate, in the political discourse. It's a nice chuckle. One would simply ask the gentleman in question, Christian, to not look further into the Middle East and the UAE and Israel, but let's look at home. America is burning. You and I have talked about this multiple times. States are flaring up, maybe not to the extent that Trump is talking about, and maybe not, because he's infamous for hyperbole.
Oregon's been burning for years.
Yeah, for years. Oregon's been burning for tens of years. That's not true. Having said that, there's still a level of unrest, which I think just points to the displeasure that people have in the way he's run things. Obviously, the killing of Black lives by multiple police officers. The list is countless on that score. So quite intriguing and a nice lighthearted story. I think Christian might be getting paid. You heard here, folks. I'm kidding. I don't know.
You said might be. This is not.
Yeah, might be. It is. Yeah, allegedly. Yeah. Because what's in it for him?
I don't know, and this is odd because before he nominated Trump for reconciling North and South Korea, which was like, well, he didn't do that.
No, he didn't.
I looked at it and I thought, well, he categorically did not do that. So that's an odd nomination because I imagine the person looking at the sheet just looks at it and goes, well, that didn't happen. So,
thanks.
Dude, you should chuck this away. Let's look to the future, Mike, because we've got these debates coming up next month. Yeah. People are super excited about them, what's going to happen. Of course, we don't think there'll be a live audience, so it will just be them two. And I think it will be very interesting to see.
Which is a real pity. The audience adds something.
It's a pity, but I think it's also it's good for Joe Biden, probably. But also, I think it's going to be nice to have Donald Trump, because if you harken your mind back to, and if our viewers do so as well, when Donald Trump was debating Hillary Clinton, he looked quite uncomfortable on that debate stage because he's having the mic and having reporters, he's in control. But when you've got two people who are, quite frankly, more qualified than he is on the stage, I think he gets unsettled. So it'll be very interesting to see how he looks there. But what else are you looking forward to in the next few weeks and even with the debates?
Yeah, I think just spot on there, a point about the debates. Trump doesn't get uncomfortable because he doesn't know how to speak publicly. I think he gets uncomfortable when he has to present hard facts. That's why we've seen him, I think, in the last 2 or 3 sit-down interviews. Yes, the last 3 interviews he's had, the one with HBO and 2 with Fox, he's literally brought pieces of paper with him because it seems he can't retain stats. He likes the big picture, big ideas, grand, and he likes to keep it there. Minute detail he struggles with. So that'll be intriguing to see how he performs. I am looking forward to Kamala Harris. I know that's a sideshow. But I tell you what, Kamala, just to see her, forgive the expression, destroy Pence, purely because, not to say, because Pence is a seasoned politician in that sense, but Kamala will definitely...
Pence is not seasoned at all. He is very bland.
Wow.
He's more unseasoned chicken than anything.
Wow. That's a weird analogy for Pence. But Kamala will she'll definitely channel some of that courtroom style prosecution, interrogation tactic. Just good to see that kind of thing. And the reality is this year we've been robbed of a really rigorous election campaign on the road. So those are 2 major things to look forward to. I'd be intrigued as well, final point, then I'll throw it back to you. I'd just be intrigued to see if the Democrats, Biden and Harris, launch anything in particular closer to election day. Are they going to switch tact? Are they going to get more out there, as it were, door-to-doors, socially distanced? Is that a thing? How are they going to reinvent themselves, or pivot rather, in the age where you can't really campaign traditionally in town halls as we're accustomed to, shaking people's hands, kissing babies? None of that's possible at the moment. I would like to, even if Biden's leading, just see him reinvent himself a little bit and introduce something new and fresh, just to show the American people that, they can, but also just to show the levels to which he's willing to go out and engage with people.
Yeah, I mean, one interesting thing to also know, and that I'm looking forward to seeing as well, is even though Donald Trump is trailing Joe Biden in the national polls, he's dominating the headlines. And so Donald Trump is still being seen by more people, which if you're a pollster, it makes us quite worried sometimes, because what that means is, although based on voting intention, based on folks who say they're going to vote, Donald Trump is far below Joe Biden. I mean, 7-point nationally is something to speak about because he's always been shown in the media, and really it's about him. He's dominating the media stream, the news cycle revolves around him. More and more people are seeing Trump. They're looking at Trump, and for an incumbent, that's a very strong thing to have that kind of presence, right? For people to talk about you, even if it's bad or good. Now, in the case of Trump, we've seen him emerge from, I think, worse tapes. I mean, I think this is bad because there's deaths related. However, we've seen him talk about literally grabbing women by the, I mean, you remember it. And that didn't hurt him at all. So what I would love to see, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Joe Biden's campaign do this, is how do they start to translate that national lead into like a media lead where his jobs plan has been seen by everybody.
That's right.
Where, you know, we're seeing him, you know, we're just seeing him doing cool things, and we're seeing just him on the mainstream media driving the agenda rather than simply reacting to Trump's faux pas. We all know Trump's going to make mistakes. In fact, my mind gets excited when I think about how many more tapes are probably hidden. How many more books are going to be released in the next few weeks.
We're going to have to write our own book.
There's so much more coming. But Joe Biden can't just react to Donald Trump and say, oh, isn't he bad? Isn't he bad? We know that.
Set the agenda.
Set the agenda, drive the narrative, convert your national lead into an eminent media lead where you're dominating the newsfeed too. Let people see why they should vote for you, and let Trump punch upwards. Let Trump get desperate and let him start saying loose and wild things whilst you march on with your clear manifesto for what America ought to be in the future. That's what I think is missing.
That's an excellent analysis. I think, you know me, I'm a big fan of plans. I like to know the policies and the plan. I'm old school like that because I want to be able to say, these are the 3 reasons why I'm pro Joe, tick. You know, they're crucial. In this world that we live in. But anyway, that is it for today. We hope you enjoyed that segment, and please continue to let us know what you think. Subscribe, hit like, share it, comment below. Let us know what you think, and we'll catch you soon, folks. Anything from you, sir?
No.
Peace out, everybody. Have a great week. See you next week.